Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we started our discussion related to auto wiring, right? When we are developing any application, multiple classes will be available. So when we have multiple classes, one class wants to communicate with another class. If one class wants to communicate with another class, then we need to perform dependency injection. In the Spring, we can perform the dependency injection by using ref attribute. So why we are using ref attribute? We are telling to IOC container which object it has to inject into target. Bill collector is one class that is dependent on some payment method. So I'm injecting that payment object by using ref attribute. So this is called manual wiring because programmer is injecting the dependent object into target object manually. Programmer is injecting the dependent object into target object manually. So that is called as dependency injection. Instead of we are doing that dependency injection manually, we can ask IOC to perform dependency injection automatically. That is called as auto wiring. So what is auto wiring? If you enable auto wiring, IOC container itself will identify the dependent object and it will inject the dependent object into target object. So how to enable auto wiring? To enable the auto wiring, there is an attribute called auto wire. Auto wire is available. When we go for auto wiring concept, there are several modes available for auto wiring. How this IOC should identify the dependent, that is depending on the mode that we configure for auto wiring. Auto wiring having mode. What is that mode? By name available, by type available, and constructor and no. By name, by type, constructor, no. When you specify by name, based on the variable name, it will identify dependent. If you go for by type, based on the data type, it will identify the dependent, right? You can go for constructor and you can go for no, like this. By name, by type, constructor. So as we discussed yesterday, when we go for by name, when we go for by name, here we are going to enable auto wire here. See here for car class, I specified auto wire is equal to by name. So in the car class, there is a variable called diesel engine. With this name, it is going to check, is there any bean available? With this variable name, is there any bean available? Then if the bean is available, then it is going to identify this bean as a dependent and this bean will be injected into target. This bean will be injected into target. For example, I don't want to go with the bean name. I want to go with the by type mechanism. I want to go with the by type mechanism. So when you go for by type mechanism, what will happen? Based on this variable data type, it is going to check, is there any bean available in the bean configuration file? With this variable data type, is there any bean available? Yes, the variable data type is a diesel engine. Based on this, it is going to identify the dependent and it is going to inject. Now, when you go for by name, there is no problem because only with that name, one variable will be available. When you go for by name mechanism, there is no problem because with that name, only one variable will be available. See here, the variable name is diesel engine. Here the bean name is diesel engine. So car class is having a variable that is diesel engine. In the bean configuration file, with that variable, there is a bean available. So this bean is identified as a dependent and that bean injected into target, that is by name. For example, I'm going for by type mechanism. What is the by type mechanism? What is the data type of this variable? Diesel engine. With this data type, is there any bean available? Yes. With the data type, this is the bean available. So this will be identified as a dependent, and that bean will be injected into target. That is what we have done, and it is getting executed also, no problem. But here there is a problem. We can configure one bean with multiple IDs. We can configure one bean with multiple IDs. Okay, so bean ID is a diesel engine, or we can say bean ID is a XYZ. And the class is diesel engine. So the data type of the both beans same, or data type of the both beans different? Guys, tell me. So now I have configured two bean definitions for the diesel engine. Both bean data types are same, both beans data types are different. Data types for the both beans same, data types for the both beans different. Data type is the same for both beans, and IDs are different. IDs are different. Whenever you are configuring a bean, the ID should be unique. When you are configuring a bean in the bean configuration file, bean ID should be different, right? But both IDs are belongs to same bean. Both IDs are belongs to same bean. What is the auto wiring mode I have given? What is the auto wiring mode I have given? By type. How it will identify the dependent? What is the user defined variable available? Diesel engine. What is the data type of the variable? This is the class. For this class, do we have any bean definitions? There are two bean definitions are available. Now it is going to inject ABC bean, or it is going to inject XYZ bean into car. Which one is matching for by type? One bean is matching for the by type, or two beans are matching for by type. One bean is matching for by type, two beans are matching for by type, two beans are matching for by type. So can we call it as a ambiguity problem? Can we call it as a ambiguity problem? Now go to driver class, right click, run as Java application. So we are getting ambiguity problem. Can you see this? No unique bean definition exception, no qualifying bean of type diesel engine available, expected single matching bean but found two. So for by type mechanism, it is trying to identify single bean with the type, but there are two beans matched, so it failed. Now, how to resolve this ambiguity problem in the XML approach? How to resolve this ambiguity problem in the XML approach? Here we can specify auto-wire candidate is equal to false, or if you want to make it as a true, you can specify that I'm making auto-wire candidate is equal to false. Auto-wire candidate is equal to false. That means this bean is not eligible for auto wiring. Even though there are two beans available, this bean is not eligible for auto wiring. So only this bean it is going to consider. Are you getting my point? How to resolve ambiguity problem? So in order to resolve the ambiguity problem, we are going to use auto wire candidate is equal to false. Now, so only this bean is eligible for, even though for by type there are two beans matching, for one bean I made auto wire candidate is equal to false. Now go to driver.java, right click, run as Java application. Now, are we able to execute the application successfully? Are we able to execute the application successfully? Yes, we are able to execute our application successfully. We are able to execute our application successfully. So when you have ambiguity problem, then we need to resolve that problem like this. We need to resolve that problem like this. So when we have more than one bean matching in by-type mechanism, in by-type mechanism, in by-type mechanism, in by-type mechanism, if we have more than one bean matching with the type, then we will get ambiguity problem. Then we will get ambiguity problem. To overcome the ambiguity problem, to overcome ambiguity problem, we need to use auto wire candidate. We need to use auto wire candidate is equal to false, like this. Now here for the diesel engine, I have configured two beans, bean ID ABC, bean ID XYZ. So now here I specified auto wire candidate is equal to false. Then that bean is not eligible for auto wiring. Only this bean is eligible for auto wiring. If we have three beans like that, for two beans you have to specify auto wire candidate is equal to false. Only one bean should be eligible for auto wiring. Remaining two beans you need to make as auto wire candidate is equal to false. Are you getting my point, Shilpa? If you have three beans like this, two beans you need to make auto wire candidate is equal to false so that it can identify only one bean which is eligible for auto wiring, then that bean will be injected. Okay. When I use auto wire by default, how it is doing the dependency injection, guys? Is it doing a field injection? Is it doing a setter injection? Is it doing a constructor injection? How auto wiring is happening internally? For car class, I have a auto wire. For car class, I have a auto wire. How this auto wiring is happening? Is it happening through setter? Is it happening through constructor? Is it happening through setter? Is it happening through constructor? It is happening through setter. For example, I want to do it through constructor. I want to do it through constructor. Let us write public car diesel engine. This dot diesel engine is equal to diesel engine. I want to perform the auto wiring through constructor. By default, the auto wiring is happening through setter method. By default, the auto wiring is happening through setter method. I want to perform the auto wiring through constructor. Before going to do that, let me write one message here. Car constructor, this is zero param constructor. Car zero param constructor, and this is car param constructor. Now observe which one is executing. Here I have a setter method. Here I have a setter method. Set diesel engine method executed. Here I have a setter method. Here I have a zero param constructor. Here I have a parameterized constructor. And the car class is dependent on the diesel engine. Instead of injecting manually through ref attribute, I am enabling auto wiring by type. So when I enable auto wiring with a by type mechanism, it will identify user defined variables. How many? There is one user defined variable. What is the data type? Diesel engine. With this data type, how many beans are configured? Two beans are configured. Then it is a ambiguity. So to resolve that ambiguity, we configured auto wire candidate is equal to false. So out of these two, only one bean is eligible for auto wiring. Second bean is disabled for auto wiring. So ambiguity problem got resolved. So this bean it is going to inject. Is it going to inject through setter method or is it going to inject through constructor? That I want to understand. Now let us run this application, run as Java application, run as Java application. Now see, is it executing setter method or not? Diesel engine 2 times object created. Diesel engine 2 times object created because 2 times we configured bean definitions. Car 0 param constructor executed. Set diesel engine method executed. Engine start method called. Car drive method called. So here auto wiring by default happening through setter injection. When you specify by name or by type, auto wiring is happening by default with a by default auto wiring. When we configure auto wiring with a by name or by type, it is using it is performing setter injection by default. Got it? When we configure auto wiring with by name or by type, it is performing setter injection by default. For example, if I don't have a setter method, for example, I have commented this setter method. That means setter method is not available. Now let us run this application, run as Java application. What happened, guys? Dependency injection happening or dependency injection is not happening. So for auto wiring by name and by type, setter method is mandatory or not? Come on. So how it is performing the dependency injection? How it is performing the dependency injection? It is performing the dependency injection by using setter method. Whenever you specify, now let's try with the by name. Let's try with the by name. Even for the by name, is it mandatory? Now I'm specifying diesel engine class is equal to this. I'm specifying this bean ID I'm giving as a diesel engine, and by type I'm going to remove and I'm going to give it as by name. I'm giving the auto wire is equal to by name. So this is my variable name. With this variable name, there is a bean available. So that is eligible for auto wiring. This bean should be injected into car. This diesel engine should be injected into car. Go to driver, right click, run as Java application. It is searching for setter method. Do we have a setter method in the target class? Guys, do we have a setter method in the target? Setter method is not available in the target, so it failed. So with this, is this statement correct? When we configure auto wiring with by name or by type, it is performing setter injection by default and setter method is mandatory. Setter method is mandatory. Okay. Okay, fine. Setter method is available, but I am not interested to go for setter. I am interested to go for constructor. Guys, come on. I'm interested to go for what? I'm interested to go for constructor. So if you want to go for constructor, then you need to specify auto wire is equal to constructor. There is a mode available. By name, by type, auto wire is equal to constructor mode is available. I'm specifying auto wire as a constructor. When I specify auto wire as a constructor, now see here, right click, run as Java application. Now, is it executing param constructor? Is it executing parameter as a constructor? Yes, but how it is identifying the dependent? I'm specifying auto wire is equal to constructor. When I specify auto wire is equal to constructor, how it is identifying the dependent? Is it identifying the dependent with by name or Is it identifying the dependent with the by type? Let me give it as a ABC. One bean ID I have given as XYZ. Another bean ID I have given as a ABC. Let's do execution. Run as Java application. Still constructor got executed. Dependency injection completed. So how it is identifying the dependent when I go for constructor? Is it checking with the constructor parameter name or it is checking with the data type? Class name. So constructor injection will internally uses by type. What will it will use? By type. Okay. If we want to perform auto wiring through constructor, if we want to perform auto wiring through constructor, then we can use constructor mode. We can use constructor mode. Like this, we can use AutoWire mode as constructor. If we want to perform auto wiring through constructor, then we can use constructor mode. Constructor mode will use internally by type. Constructor mode, in constructor mode, by type will be used to identify dependent bean object. Right. So here inside the car class, I have a parameterized constructor. Inside the car class, I am having a parameterized constructor. So now here I specified auto wire is equal to constructor. That means it should perform the dependency injection through constructor. It should perform the dependency injection through constructor. Okay. When it has auto wire mode is equal to constructor, it will try to execute the parameterized constructor to perform the dependency injection. For the constructor, there is a parameter to identify that it is going to use by type mechanism. To identify that it is going to use by type mechanism internally. All right. If you give auto wiring is equal to no, what is the meaning of auto wire is equal to no? Run as Java application. Auto wiring is not going to happen, then it is going to give exception. Auto wiring is not going to happen and it is going to give the exception. If you don't want to perform auto, by default it is no only. If you don't want to perform the auto wiring, then you can give auto wire is equal to no, or else you can go with by name, by type, constructor. So I hope you guys understood what is by name, what is by type. By name means it will consider as the dependent bean. It will inject the dependent bean object into target object by name. Auto wire is equal to by name. Auto wire is equal to by name. In the by name mode, we need to configure the variable name as a bean name. Okay, like this. We are going to configure in the by name mode. Bean ID is equal to diesel engine and the class is equal to diesel engine, and we are taking car. We are taking a car. Auto wiring having these modes: by name, by type, constructor, no. By name means if target class variable name matched with any bean, then in bean configuration file, IOC will consider that as a dependent bean. It will inject the dependent bean object into target bean object. So car class is having auto wire is equal to by name. Variable name is a matching, so that bean will be injected into target. By type means it will check the data type. It will check the data type of the variable. With the data type of the variable, if any bean class is configured, then it will identify that as a dependent and it will inject into target. Okay. We can configure one class for multiple times with different IDs. Then we will get ambiguity problem in by type scenario. We can configure one bean with multiple IDs. Then we will get ambiguity problem in by type scenario. Okay. If you If you have more than one bean, then we will get ambiguity. To overcome ambiguity problem, we need to use ambiguity. To resolve that ambiguity, we need to use auto where candidate is equal to false. Two beans are available. One bean is false for auto wire, then only this bean is eligible for auto wiring. When we configure auto wiring with by name or by type, it is performing setter injection by default, and the setter method is mandatory in target bean. Setter method is mandatory in target bean. If we want to perform auto wiring through constructor, then we can use the constructor mode like this. Auto wire is equal to constructor. In constructor, by type will be used to identify dependent bean object, and it is going to inject it. So with this, we understood what is a manual wiring and what is auto wiring. With this, we understood what is a manual wiring and what is auto wiring. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? What is manual wiring and what is auto wiring? Excellent. Excellent. So with this, we understood several concepts. What is Spring framework? We understood what is Spring framework. Okay. Spring modules, Spring framework, Spring modules, and IOC container, then dependency injection, IOC container, dependency injection, setter injection, constructor injection, field injection, okay, property tag. What is the purpose of property tag? What is the purpose of constructor-arg tag? Constructor-arg tag, ref attribute, and we discussed about auto wiring. In the auto wiring, we discussed about by name, by type, and constructor. By name, by type, and constructor we have discussed. Along with this, we discussed about bean scopes. We discussed about bean scopes like singleton scope and prototype scope is available. Singleton scope available and prototype available. Another request session is also available that we will discuss in the web concepts. Okay, Spring modules, and we discussed about strategy design pattern. Spring core introduction. What is the Spring core? These are the topics we have learned so far. So Spring framework, Spring is an application development framework. We can develop end-to-end project by using Spring framework. We can develop end-to-end project by using Spring framework, and there are several modules available in the Spring, like a core module, context module, and AOP module, JDBC module, ORM module, WebMVC, like that. There are several modules available, and we understood tightly coupling versus loosely coupling. Tightly coupling versus loosely coupling. So if you go for inheritance, then your classes will be tightly coupled. If you go for composition also, your classes are getting tightly coupled. So if you want to develop the classes with loosely coupling, then we need to follow strategy design pattern. Favor composition over inheritance. Talk to interfaces instead of implementation classes. Code should be open for extension, should be closed for modification. That strategy design pattern we have learned, and we have to follow the strategy design pattern while developing the classes. Then we started Spring core. So if you develop the classes, at some point of time, you need to create the objects and you need to inject the objects from one class to another class. Then your classes will become tightly coupled. So if you want to develop the classes with 100% loosely coupling, then we can go for Spring Core module. In the Spring Core module, we have a IOC container that will take care of object creations and dependency injections. IOC is a principle which will manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in our application. IOC is a principle which will manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in our application. In our Spring framework, IOC container is responsible to perform dependency injection. What is a dependency injection? The process of injecting one class object into another class object is called as dependency injection. That dependency injection can be done in three ways. We can do that by using setter injection. We can do that by using constructor injection. We can do that by using field injection. If we inject a dependent object into target object through setter method, then it is called as setter injection. If you do dependency injection through constructor, then it is called as constructor injection. If you do it through variable, then it is called as field injection. To represent a setter injection, we will use property tag. To represent a constructor injection, we will use constructor-arg tag. Okay, then we are going to use beans configuration file to configure our classes as a Spring Beans. Bean definitions we are writing, bean id, bean class, right? That bean configuration file we are passing as a input for IOC container. IOC container will read those bean definitions, will create the objects at the stage of starting only if the bean scope is singleton. Bean scopes will represent Bean scope will represent how many objects should be created for a bean. How many objects should be created for a bean? By default, every Spring Bean is singleton scope. That means only one object will be created. Why it is creating only one object? To save the memory. Why it is creating only one object? To save the memory, it is creating only one object. Okay, if you want to create multiple objects, then you can go for prototype. And when we start the IOC container by using application context, by default, at the time of IOC starts, whenever the IOC container starts, it is going to identify singleton beans and it will create the objects for the singleton. When you give the scope as a prototype, when you call getBean method, then only it is going to create the object. And ref attribute. If you want to perform the dependency injection manually, which object should be injected, you need to specify that by using ref attribute. Instead of we are going for manual dependency injection, we can ask IOC to perform the dependency injection automatically. For that, we are going for auto wiring. By default, auto wiring is disabled. You need to configure that auto wire attribute at the target class. For the auto wiring, we have modes, by name, by type, constructor, and no. By name means based on the variable name, it will identify the dependent object. By type means based on the data type, it is going to identify the dependent. Every bin should have a unique name, so there is no problem with the by name. But multiple beans can be configured with different names. Same bean can be configured for multiple times with different names. Then we will get ambiguity in the by type mechanism. We will get ambiguity in the by type mechanism. We discussed how to resolve that ambiguity also. To resolve that ambiguity problem, we are using auto-wire candidate is equal to false. We are using auto-wire candidate is equal to false for that. Okay. And when you go for by name and by type, internally it is calling setter method to perform dependency injection. Setter method is mandatory to perform auto wiring with by name or by type. If you want to perform constructor injection instead of setter, then you need to specify by type as a constructor. When you specify by type as a constructor, internally it will use by type mode only to identify the dependent and it will inject that through constructor. So this is called auto wiring. This is called as auto wiring. Are you guys clear with this? Yep. Good. Guys, so we understood XML files. Now tell me, is it recommended to work with XML files nowadays? Like this, configuring every class as a bean and configuring the bean ID, ref attribute, auto wiring. Is it recommended approach or it is outdated approach? It is outdated approach. It is outdated approach. But why we discussed this approach from last 3-4 days? If you go for any company, if they are using old application, then you might need to have some idea on this. It is one of the way to develop our Spring based applications. Initially, when the Spring framework came into market, people used it to develop the applications like this. They used it to create XML file. In that XML file, they use it to configure the beans and they use it to start the IOC container. They use it to start the IOC container. They use it to get the bean object. They use it to perform the manual wiring or auto wiring with the XML. This is the approach that used to follow long back to develop the applications. Okay, but today this approach is outdated. Nowadays, people are using Spring Boot. Before starting the Spring Boot, why I have explained, these are fundamental concepts that everybody should know to start with the Spring Boot. These are the fundamental concepts that everybody should know to start to understand the Spring Boot. Are you guys clear with my point? So with this, I'm stopping our discussion related to Spring framework with the XML approach. Now I want to start the Spring Boot. So are you clear with the fundamental concepts? What is IOC container? What is the dependency injection? What is the bean scope? What is manual wiring? What is auto wiring? Yes, now you all are eligible to learn Spring Boot. You all are eligible to learn Spring Boot. Okay, Spring core is completed. No, Spring core is not completed. The pending topics available in the Spring core, we will learn with the Spring Boot. The pending concepts available in the Spring core, we are going to learn in the Spring Boot approach. So I don't want to explain you the concepts with the outdated approach. I'm going to teach you the concepts with a trending approach, which is Spring Boot. So now we need to start our discussion related to Spring Boot. Clear, guys? Yes. Anybody having any questions now? Can you please raise your hand? Yeah, Ajit, what is your doubt?
Yeah, good morning, sir. So
Very
my
good
doubt,
morning, Ajit.
yeah, my doubt is like when to go constructor injection and
Yes,
when
sir.
to
I
go
will
setter.
tell you in the Spring Boot when I explain that set again, setter injection, constructor injection, auto wiring. Again, we are going to understand in the Spring Boot. So in the Spring Boot, I will tell you which one is the recommended approach. Basically, constructor is the recommended approach. I will tell you when to use a setter, when to use constructor.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Kapil, what's your question?
Yeah, my same question. Like bean scopes are there, right? By default is single tone, and we
Right.
also have the single tone class also, like design pattern. So like, can we say both are same because
Yes,
the
sir.
bean
Yes. Instead of
object?
we are making the class as a singleton by writing our program, Spring is making the
Mhm.
class as a singleton. That bean as
Okay,
a singleton.
okay. And what is the difference like singleton bean scope and singleton design pattern? Like both are like same
No
or like
different. Both are same. Both are same. Both are same.
Oh, okay, got it. And
Yeah.
the second question is that like we have the setter injection, we have the Spring also giving the more first priority to the setter injection. So like why we need like constructor injection instead of setter
Yeah.
injection?
I will clarify that. So if you have partial dependency, if you now my class is dependent on 4 objects. I want to do the partial injections only, then we will go for setter. If it is mandatory to inject the dependent object, then we will go for constructor. I will clarify that. When
Okay,
to use a
okay.
setter, when to go for constructor.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much. And field injection is nothing but user defined data type field, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
wrong.
no, no. Field injection means without calling setter and constructor, injecting the object into the variable directly. In the XML approach, it is not supported.
Okay,
Direct,
XML is not supported. Got it.
so
Yeah,
that
thank
field
you, man.
injection we will perform in the Spring Boot with auto wiring annotation based approach.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Good. Anyone having next question?
Hello, yes, sir. Actually, for the auto wiring ambiguity problem, we also use a
That
qualifier.
qualifier, that is the annotation, sir. In the annotation approach, I will explain that.
Okay.
Qualifier is the annotation. Whenever you are doing auto wiring through annotation approach, then to resolve the ambiguity, we will use a qualifier mechanism. Qualifier is a one annotation. In the Spring Boot, we are going to learn the auto wiring with annotation approach. There, I will tell you what is qualifier.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good morning.
Very good morning.
Sir, in program we are using the zero param construction and params construction. Sir. Why we use both? Sir? We
No,
use only one
we
parameter.
can use only one. Here I have just written that to show you the demo when the class object is creating, when the construct. Now, if I'm writing a parameter as a constructor, then we don't need this. Now I can remove
Yes.
it. Okay.
Yes.
I'm writing just for understanding purpose. It's not mandatory.
Okay. Sir. And in bean scope we have singleton, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is in singleton also we have class like that we can consider. Sir.
Both are same. Yes. Singleton. Yep. Right. Instead of we are writing the code, writing private constructor and all, they are making that as a by default singleton.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Hi, sir.
good morning, sir.
Very good morning.
Sir, so the code which you do here means basically how to get that code so that we can practice in our system.
Yeah, sir, if you want me to share the code, I can share it. But if you look into my code, then you cannot improve that thought process to develop the code on your own. I suggest you to write the code on your own. If you have any problem, then I will help you to resolve the problem. If I give you this code also, right? So you will execute my code. Whatever the code that I have written, it is already executed in my system. Same code will execute in your system also. But where is your learning? Where is your what is your progress? How can you measure that you are able to do the coding on your own? समझा?
Yes, sir.
आप पहले आप खुद से कोड करने के लिए ट्राई करना पड़ेगा. अगर मैं ये कोड, I can send this code to you, no problem. I will not lose anything if I give this code. If you face a problem, you will look into my code and you will resolve the problem. Always you need to have that capacity to resolve the problems on your own. If you write the code on your own, then it will improve your subject. ठीक है? अगर चाहिए तो मैं बेच सकता हूँ. There is no problem at all. But first priority, you should try to write this code on your own. Then you will get a number of problems. Then you need to think about the solutions. That is how you need to learn the subject. समझा?
Okay, sir. Okay.
पहले आप खुद से ट्राई करो. अगर चाहिए तो मैं बेच सकता हूँ. There is no problem.
Okay, sir. Okay, no problem.
ठीक है?
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, in auto wiring, there is 3 types of auto wiring, right?
Yeah.
So normally in real time, which one will you go for, sir? Based on the requirement or
No.
anyone will follow?
No. We are going to do the auto wiring here, right? Manually through XML. When you go for annotations approach, right? Basically, it will do with the by type mechanism.
Okay.
With the by type, it is going to perform.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
And in which scenario in real time can we will go with prototype bin scope?
Yeah, I explained you, right? So there is a
Yeah.
token generator, and I want to generate a new token for every city, every customer. When we
Right.
want to change the scope, when we want to change the state of the object for every request, then we will go for prototype.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. What is lazy initialization? What is eager initialization? Yes. When we start the IOC container, it is creating objects for singleton beans by default. That is called eager initialization. For prototype beans, when we call the get bean, then only object will be created. That is called lazy initialization. Eager initialization is happening for singleton beans, and lazy initialization is happening for prototype beans. That with respect to application context. And when you go for bean factory is completely lazy initialization mechanism. Bin factory, if you use to start the IOC, bin factory will create the object when you call get bin. Bin factory will follow lazy initialization, and application context will follow eager initialization. Manas, you got my point. When you start the IOC container by using bin factory, unless you call the get bin, it will not create the object for the bin. Whereas when you go for application context, when you start the IOC by using application context, by default, it is creating the objects for singleton bins. That is called eager initialization. Right.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Tell me, sir.
Hello, sir. Sir, suppose in web application we have created one class as a singleton.
Right.
तो उसमें बहुत सारे यूजर्स अगर एप्लीकेशन को एक्सेस करते हैं तो उस
एक ही ऑब्जेक्ट होता है, एक ही ऑब्जेक्ट होता है, बार बार वही यूज होता है. हाँ.
तो डेटा शेयर हो जाएंगे ना, कुछ हमने डेटा ऐसा रखा है तो उस ऑब्जेक्ट में तो सेम डेटा सारे.
Yeah. So whenever you are asking about the data sharing will happen, if your class having a state, if your class is representing data, different data for every user, you should not make that class as a singleton. First of all, that is the first rule. When your object having a state, when your class is having some instance variables, then you should not go for singleton. If your class doesn't have a state, then only you need to make that class as a singleton.
Okay, sir. If the instance variable is not declared in a class,
then we can make it as a singleton. Right.
Hello, sir.
Hi, sir.
Sir, REST API, does it mean a single method or what, sir? What can
No,
you explain the REST API?
We'll come to the REST APIs, guys. REST API means one application, one web service we are going to develop. In that REST API, REST controller will be there. In that REST controller, we can write REST methods, multiple methods we can write. So REST API is a big concept. We are going to spend almost 1 month for the REST API only. REST API means one web service.
Okay, web service means one method, no, sir?
No,
Directly.
web service means one application which will run in the internet. Multiple applications can access, one application can talk to another application through web service. If you want to establish the communication between one application to another application, then we will use the REST API as a mediator.
Okay, sir, fine.
Got it? Yep. So we'll understand that in detail once we start the RESTful services concept.
Yes.
Good. Anyone else having the doubts, you can raise the hand in the Zoom. In the Zoom, there is an option called raise hand. You can raise that.
Sir, Spring Boot कितना दिन चलेगा, sir?
Sir, only Spring Boot will take 1 week to 10 days. Okay. Spring Boot internals and all. Then we will take the data JPA, then MVC, then REST API like this. Only Spring Boot, it is just one approach, right? In the Spring Boot, we will take approximately 10 days of time to understand a Spring Boot. 1 week to 10 days.
And then microservice we will start.
No, microservice, it will take another 2 months to start the microservice, man. Because Spring Boot होने के बाद data JPA होने के बाद web MVC, REST API बहुत time है ना?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sir, I was trying to create the first project of Spring, and there was no option called create a Maven project. Only project is there. And
which IDE which IDE you are using? STS. So can you click on here? If you don't see the Maven, when you trying to create a project file, new, go for other option. There you type Maven.
I didn't get you, sir.
No. When you are trying to create a project, right? Go to file option, new.
Yes.
If you can't see the Maven option, there is an option called other. Click on this.
Oh, right. Okay.
There you need to search it, Maven.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Sir, and also the Spring Bean configuration file is also not displaying for some STS.
Spring Bean config. Yeah, if it is not displaying, then you need to create it manually. You need to create manually. So I will share you the sample file, because when you create the bean configuration, you need to write this accessory declarations. Now I'm going to send you this file. So you create this file manually. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I send it to you. So just copy it and create it. File name can be anything. File name can be anything.
Okay, sir. And when we convert when we are migrating normal standalone Java application to microservices. In controller class, it is having the @API URL and the method @API operation URL is there. The both are same or both are different?
Same only, sir. @API operation, that is a Swagger annotation, sir. It is used for a documentation purpose. We'll discuss about Swagger. @API operation is a Swagger annotation which is used to generate the documentation for your API.
Okay, so the URLs are same both.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
प्रोजेक्ट बेंच भी स्टार्ट होने वाले हैं क्या इस मंथ में?
मैं बताता हूँ सर, अभी थोड़ा चेक करना है, शेड्यूल चेक करके बताता हूँ. ए मंथ पे या नेक्स्ट मंथ पे स्टार्ट पे चालू होता है.
Sir, for instance, here we have different projects. Like
Hello, very good morning, Ashok.
applications.
Kapil this side.
Yeah, one second, Kapil. Let me go with this. Yeah.
Sir, that projects like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For example, 5 is one project, 6 is one project, and
Yes.
this is those can also be called the applications.
Right.
How can we establish the relation? I mean, how can we establish the communication between those applications, sir?
So if you want to talk
in the real
those,
time, we have many projects, no?
right? One second. If you want to establish the communication between 5th application and 6th application, you need to package the 5th application as a jar file, and you need to add that as a dependency to the 6th application. That is one approach.
Okay. Right.
This package you can package, this project you can package as a jar file, add that jar file as a dependency for the another project. One project you can use in the another project. For example, you don't want to add the jar, you want only particular service. Then we will develop one REST API and we will establish a communication from one application to another application using REST API.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
हेलो सर, ये जावा रियल टाइम प्रोजेक्ट का जो अपने नेक्स्ट मंथ तक स्टार्ट अगर होता है ये, तो मैं रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर ले सकता हूँ ना इसके भी?
यस सर.
अच्छा सर, रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर के लिए मैंने आपसे बात की थी, तो मैंने वहां पे भी बात की थी आपके ऑफिस में, तो उन्होंने 12,000 फीस बताई थी, और मैंने आपसे यहाँ बात की थी तो आपने 10,000 फीस बताई थी.
ठीक है, वो whenever the batch started, then I can discuss with you. I can give you some discount on this. Okay?
और सर मैंने जो है रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर के लिए 10,000 डिपॉजिट भी करवा दिए वहाँ पे, बट ही इज टेलिंग कि आपको जो है 12,000 सब जमा करवाना पड़ेगा तब जाकर के रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर मिलेंगे. इस तरह का मिसकम्युनिकेशन सर हो रहा है, तो आप थोड़ा सा एक बार बात कर लेना सर प्लीज.
ठीक है सर जी, मैं बताता हूँ आज.
तो अगर रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर में ले लेता हूँ तो मैं अभी से उसकी थोड़ा सा प्रिपरेशन करना शुरू कर दूंगा, और देन जब भी क्लास शुरू होते हैं ना तो वो दैट इज बेनिफिशियल फॉर मी.
ठीक है सर जी, मैं आज बताता हूँ.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू.
आज एक मेल भी ड्रॉप कर लेना, so that I can update to my admin team to do that process.
मेल किस मेल आईडी पे सर?
ahokitschool@gmail.com में केल कर दो ना.
ओके सर.
ठीक है.
गुड मॉर्निंग.
ओके सर.
हेलो. या हाय
सर, आपने बोला था कि ना जावा वाले 2 इयर्स हो गए तो जावा वालों के लिए भी कुछ देंगे, हमें तो कुछ पूछा ही नहीं फिर आपने.
Yes sir, I will give you. I'm checking for that. So once currently I'm busy with my schedule, so by this month end 2 of my batches will be completed, my morning 9:30 batch and evening 8:30 batch, so that I will get some free time, then I will think about it and I will give you.
थैंक यू सर.
ठीक है, ये मंथ मेरे बहुत थोड़ा schedule busy है भाई.
Ashok, actually I want like we have the 5 sessions, like scopes are there, like
no, only 4 scopes are there, Kapil. Global session scope removed from Spring 3.0. It is not available now.
Okay.
We have only request session
Hi,
and singleton prototype. Only we have 4 session scopes. 4 scopes available for bean now. Earlier, when the Spring came into the market, we used to have 5 scopes, but after that, global session scope removed from Spring 3.0.
Okay, so like why they remove that? Like any specific reason, or
it's not required basically. So already we have a session scope now. Global session means it is for entire application. Session also for entire application, so that is not required.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Ashok.
Yeah, hi guys. Fine. Tell me what your doubt.
How to add that Spring XML file manually, sir? Can you show once?
Just you go to your project, go to your SRC main Java folder, just right click, new, create a XML file, create a file. Just create a file, give the name, any name, .xml extension. Just right click on SRC main Java file, give the file name as anything with the extension .xml.
Sir, it is coming differently. Can't add.
No. When you create it, a new file आप add कर सकते हैं beans.xml. ठीक है, इधर source पे जाना, इधर आपको एक को paste करना पड़ेगा. That's it.
Okay, sir.
Hello,
Go to source and paste their content. Yeah.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Is there any chance to develop an application through Gradle in Spring
We will
Boot?
do that, sir. We will do that. Yes, in the Spring Boot, it supports both Maven and Gradle. We can develop the applications by using
Can
that.
you please explain one application
Sure.
to Gradle so we'll get
Sure.
idea?
Sure. Both I will do.
Yeah, thank you.
First we will do that with Maven, then we will go with the Gradle.
हेलो सर.
Yeah, hi Vivek.
सर आपने जैसे इसमें बताया था ऑटो वायरिंग हैविंग मोड, मतलब 4 मोड बताए थे आपने, एक लास्ट बताया था नो. वो आपने
नो मतलब मींस ऑटो वायरिंग नहीं होगा.
अच्छा, ऑटो वायरिंग नहीं होगा. ओके.
हाँ.
Sir, hi sir.
Hi. Hello.
Where we get the recorded videos, sir?
For which
Actually,
batch?
if you miss, this batch only. If you miss the morning section, so we can listen at the afternoon when we are free.
Did you enroll for plan 1 or plan 2?
Actually, I'm a full stack Java developer, sir. For 5th batch.
Full stack Java developer. Okay, sir. We'll talk to, because for full stack people for recorded videos there is extra 3,000 fees is there. If you are enrolled for that, then you will get daily recorded video.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So just to talk to the management once, they will guide you how to get it.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, for this batch also didn't receive the daily videos.
So daily videos will be available. I told you the 10,000 rupees plan is there. The people who paid 10,000, they are getting daily videos.
Yeah, I have paid 10,000.
Yes, sir.
Are you getting the daily videos?
No.
No, we are daily adding the videos to Google Drive, man. Daily we are sharing that. So if you are not getting that, please send an email to us so that we can look into that.
Okay,
contact us. So daily we are adding the videos to the Google Drive.
Yeah,
so,
daily I'm getting. Sir,
yeah.
But उसमें क्या हो रहा है कि ओल्ड वन से हट जा रिमूव हो जाते हैं, नए 4 वीडियो आ गए तो पहले वाले सब हट जाते हैं.
क्यों ऐसे होता है भाई? सबका वीडियो सारा वीडियोस होते हैं, हट नहीं जाते. सो कोई इश्यू है तो व्हाट्सएप में मैसेज कर लेना भाई, अभी मुझे 8 o'clock के क्लास है. ठीक है. So any issue that you guys are having, just send a WhatsApp message to the admin team. They will resolve that. And backup videos, the people who paid for 10,000 videos, we are adding the backup videos to the Google Drive on daily basis. You will get those videos. If you are not getting it, then we will help you to get those videos. Send a message to this WhatsApp. I have given in the Telegram WhatsApp number, उसमें message कर लेना, आपका problem resolve हो जाएगा आज. ठीक है. Thank you guys. We'll see you Monday. Tomorrow no session. We have next session on Monday. Monday we are going to start with Spring Boot. Thank you.